Hey guys, Bix Weir, roadtoruta.com. Got Ken Swartz back on the line to talk about everything. Where do you want to start, Ken? We can talk about finances, we could talk about health, we could talk about the war, the battle. Where would you like to start?
Well, I don't know. I'm almost thinking of the little trucker convoy up there in Canada.
Oh my
That
God,
is,
here it's coming down here too.
I know, because we would before, we were going to talk about for the show about a little about the whole repo thing, but things have changed so much. I mean, that's just an amazing thing. And then Trudeau, ran off like dog with his tail between his legs to hide out someplace.
I heard he claims he has COVID, so he can't be seen.
Yeah.
What's your take on the overall there?
Oh, I think the people are standing up, and it's spreading. So I hear there's going to be truckers in Brazil. It's happening. It's going to happen. It's happening in Australia. So they seem to have started a movement all across the world of people are just fed up.
Do you think now? I mean, the U.S. is usually the ones who should be standing up for freedom and all that. Do you think that because the U.S. wasn't as much as on lockdown as they were in Canada and Australia, or the media is just so intense with the promoting that, it's the only way is to block yourself off from humanity and wear something so that you get less oxygen and don't take the proper medications and don't. I mean, it's such a brainwash thing now. There's a lot of people in the US starting to get there, but I think in both Canada and Australia, the lockdowns were hyper intense and insane, and people just had enough. When do you think we'll get here in the United States where we believe the same thing?
The media in the United States a little more sophisticated, and of course we have the quote the red and the blue states. And so the red states, if you're in Florida or there's a lot of other places, it just never really locked down. They never did that, so that you don't have that level. Whereas if you're in California, I mean, it's just hell there. Sorry.
I'm holding up my arms. Arrest me for. I have a red Let's Go Brandon hat. And every time I'm in Northern California, which is probably one of the most liberal spots in the whole nation, and I wear my Let's Go Brandon hat, and people say, "Yeah, I love that hat," which tells me it's not as liberal or I think a lot of people are getting the shit beat out of them financially. A lot of my friends who have restaurants are not making it. And small businesses are getting destroyed, which is part of the plan. What's your take? What's your take from here on out?
Well, I mean, the whole thing is the Fed's just been pumping the markets, the stock market, and supporting, and also doing the whole thing, giving out free loans for buybacks, basically, of stock, and that's really gone to the 0.1%. That's it's not the 1%, it's the 0.1%, and whereas the average person has just suffered immensely. I mean, especially if we even go back looking up, since 2008, 0% interest rates essentially. I mean, that's what you get paid. You put your money in the bank. I mean, that's just stolen like a vast amount of savings from the average person. Whereas
I think that the biggest thing that people are starting to figure out, but they're hearing about inflation. So, I mean, the real inflation numbers we know are a lot higher. The purchasing power of the dollar is absolutely getting destroyed. Who in their right mind would keep money in a bank earning less than 0.1% interest when they're losing 7, 8, 10% on the purchasing power of the money every year?
Yeah, and that is one thing, but how many people had a lot of money in the bank?
Right.
That's one of the things. And yeah, well, the whole I mean, when we talked about like you see their big bailouts. Now it finally comes out. A lot of stuff has got out, like the big bailouts in 2008, 2007, debt bailout. I was like, they bailed out $29 trillion. That's what the banks were bailed out. And so all these banks were bailed out by the thing, and then they allowed them to turn around and foreclose on the houses that the taxpayer had just, bailed them out on. And now we just discovered we remember people kind of go back, and there was that repo, the big repo back in, I think it was 2019, started in September, right before something got released. And now it's just come out that they did like $19 trillion pumping up banks all around the world. And one of the biggest ones, like people got on the wrong side of some derivatives contracts or whatever. What was that one Japanese bank? I can't remember its name, was just immense amounts of trillions and trillions of dollars just to one bank. And so and now we got the reverse repo stuff going on. And of course, what's currently happening, they aren't really telling us. So the system, I mean, basically we had a 2008 event in 2019, and they never let us know about it. They just papered it over. But so the crisis, and now we got the reverse repo where they're trying to pump it the other way. So, there's a big crisis out there. And also I think, obviously this crisis went away. And so now they're pumping war crisis. Because, it's like when Gerald Celente says, when everything else fails, they take you to war. Mm-hmm. And I think that's what they're doing. Why this big push, the evil Russians, right? Why now? And so I think they're getting desperate. I think the leadership class is getting really desperate, and they're trying to come up with something to distract the public, because I think we're going to have some significant financial problems this year. And I can't tell you when or where, but I'm pretty sure it's going to happen.
I agree 100%. And I remember keeping track with the repos and the reverse repos, and I was counting them both back in the first 3 or 4 months. I get up to close to $1 trillion, and I'm like, hey, wait a minute. Why am I keeping track of this even if nobody else is? And by the way, this is only the numbers that they report. What are they not reporting? How many secret bailouts are going on behind the scenes, and they aren't reporting anything? And it gets to my theory that they'll show the public what looks like something outrageous, printing trillions of dollars or bailing out banks for trillions of dollars via repo. But in the reality, there is an unlimited amount of repo derivatives that they can do and not tell anybody about it. Same with printing money. Every country in the world figured out, the United States has been printing a lot more money than they even report. And money is not even money these days. The derivatives are the proxy for the US dollar, and they can invent those in any denomination they want. As we see, even the big banks, JP Morgan has over $50 trillion in derivatives. I mean, what is that? And why is that? And it gets to who is backing that. And if there is someone backing it, like the Exchange Stabilization Fund, how many trillions or quadrillions in derivatives does the Exchange Stabilization Fund have that doesn't have to report to anybody?
I know it's gotten to just ridiculous levels. It's like that Professor Skidmore. It's at Castronos and Fitz. She works with them, and he discovered this was I think the end of 2019, that there's almost like $100 trillion in actual U.S. Treasuries out there, right? It's usually people were saying, there was only back then there was only like 20. Now it's like 30 they'll admit to. But so now it's like 110. There's actually $110 trillion in outstanding U.S. Treasuries. So where did that $70 trillion? So they put bonds out, right? There's bonds. So somebody had to buy that. They put it out. Somebody bought it. The money came from somewhere. So where did that $70 trillion missing $1 trillion go? I mean, there's no, and of course they passed that FASB 56 bill back in, what was that, 2016? I think even Trumpster signed that one, and all the government accounting has gone dark. So we don't have any clue what's going on now. It's just gotten to the point, but one thing, history has shown us what's going to happen here. And
no country, no entity anywhere in the world no country has ever paid off their debt. That's not how it ends. As soon as for Clinton, they massage the CPI numbers to say, they count computers as a higher percentage and count the things you need, like food and energy, and in lower and lower percentages, just so you think there is no inflation. But even Clinton said, we balanced the budget. They never balanced the budget. They had deficits the whole time, and they had and they ran up the debt the whole time. It just ran up slower. And at the end of the day, they were lying, so that now we have, people saying, Trump, he's going to bring truth and honesty back. He ran up the rigging machine bigger than anybody, other than Biden now wants to. And all of a sudden Congress has a conscience that says, no, we can't release $3 trillion, even though we've released $20 trillion a year just to cover up the crimes of the banking system. Where does it end, Ken? Where do you think it ends, and how does it end?
Well, I think, if we talk about Uncle Cliff, I think, we could, it depends on what they're going to do, because they're not going to bite the bullet. So we could get inflation, like you said, hyperinflation. There could be a hyper event. But the only problem is that all the other countries in the world are in the same spot. So like the euro, they're just doing that. Japan, even China, so they're tightening a little bit there. So it's like, yeah, it's everywhere. I mean, that's why hard assets are a really good thing. Like, as you say, silver, because that's a store of value that they really can't. And if things went bad, it's going to stay there. Well, if your dollar is just evaporating at 10% a year or 15% a year, or whatever it is, like if you really want to get good stats, go to Shadow Stats on the net, and they actually do
great site. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, because they do it the way it used to be, so you can actually get some real data. But I mean, it all started in, I called it Reagan-esque, in the Reagan era, when if they didn't like a statistic that came out, they would just massage it behind the scenes, and then it became true. And so eventually, government statistics lost all integrity, and you just can't trust anything, even unemployment rates, inflation, you name it. And now, you can't even see the books. So, I mean, it's going to end badly. Is it going to go hyperinflation? Is the stock market going to collapse and we get like a massive deflation because you get a banking crisis and they shut down the banks for a while? I mean, it's I mean, we're in territory that has never been before in economic history, basically, because it's the biggest super bubble of all bubbles that have ever existed.
And if you've been on the road to Ruta long enough, that's exactly what Ruta wrote in the sand when in the Fed comic book is an economic formula called On the Road to the Golden Age. And in that formula from the 1960s, the solution to being off a gold standard, it was a pseudo gold standard in the 60s, was to inflate the currency to infinity. And it's not just in like the US dollar that's getting inflated, as we talked about, it's the derivatives. That's a form of money. And in a very useful form of money if you don't have to report it to anybody, like Greenspan and Larry Summers were advocating back in the late 1990s. They said basically, hey, we're going to introduce these things and let banks do whatever they want, give them enough leeway, enough money so that they can do whatever they want in the amounts they want. Jamie Dimon said out of his Florida Money Center office for JP Morgan, $5 trillion goes in and out day to day. What kind of world is that where you have the most criminal bank in all of the world by far, JP Morgan, who rigs more markets than anybody out there, and they're trading $5 trillion a day. They get kicked out of silver, so we think, but they're the custodian for SLV and all the silver ETFs, and they have the largest COMEX silver warehouse. I mean, that's where the heart of silver is, in the real thing, in the standalone asset, not in the derivatives that are traded. Who cares if JP Morgan can't trade in derivatives? They have friends who can do that for them. So I think the whole thing we're looking at, get your assets in your own possession, no matter what you want to hold, be it land, be it cryptos. Good cryptos in your possession are wonderful. I'm not saying they won't go to zero, just like silver can go to minus $40, just like oil did. But at the end of the day, we have to shake out a lot of criminals from the cryptos, just like we're going to shake out a lot of criminals from the silver market. Yeah. There's the Tether's the worst example. Obviously, everybody knows about that. But the reality is, with Tether gone and the people, I call them the crypto cabal, that are behind that, you're going to have some amazing assets that will be very useful in the future with less criminality with those guys behind bars, in my opinion.
Well, I think that's part of the thing we're seeing. I mean, where there is really some positive developments because all of this stuff is being exposed. I mean, this stuff has been going on for generations, decade after decade, and most people were totally clueless of what's going on. But now this stuff is right out in front of your face, and you really can't turn away. I mean, sure, there's lots of people that are watching CNN, mostly the older crowd and stuff that isn't doing that, but the younger generations, they get their news from other sources, and they're feeling the hurt, right? Because they look, it's like when they shut things down, they haven't really started back up. I mean, why would a mom and pop grocery store right on the corner be a worse place to catch a disease than a Walmart where you got hundreds of people in it? Mm-hmm. I mean, it was all made no sense, except it's really an attack on the people, and Klaus Schwab, his little young leaders group behind the scenes in the Great Reset, which isn't a great reset at all. They just want to take us back to feudalism, where a few wealthy elites own everything and we, the serfs, own nothing. But, somehow I don't think we'll be happy.
Yeah, that was Klaus Schwab who said that. You'll own nothing and you'll love it. But yeah, we are at that point in any society. If they abuse the monetary system, you have a change, and the change is going to be very big, and we hope for the best. Let's move on to, and this might have to go on the private road, but depending on how we talk about it. First of all, if you guys need any C60, if you don't know about C60, go to roadtorouter.com, look up our affiliate section. We have links to Purple Power C60 where you can get the real thing from the real guy. Ken has it, has a great product that all the Road to Ruta members now are getting on it because it's an amazing antioxidant. I don't know how much we can say about it, but we're going to say a lot after this. Go to roadtorouter.com. This will be posted right on the public page. But for now, for YouTube, see you later, YouTube. Now let's get into the real thing.